The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. After the 5,000 had eaten and were satisfied, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and precede him to the other side toward Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. And when he had taken leave of them, he went off to the mountain to pray. When it was evening, the boat was far out on the sea, and he was alone on the shore. Then he saw that they were tossed about while rowing, for the wind was against them. About the fourth watch of the night, he came toward them walking on the sea. He meant to pass by them, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and cried out. They had all seen him, but were terrified. But at once he spoke with them. "Take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid." He got into the boat with them, and the wind died down. They were completely astounded, and when they had not understood the incident of the loaves, on the contrary, their hearts were hardened. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus.
Perfect love casts out all fear. Those are powerful words that St. John tells us in our first reading. You might even say that fear is an absence of love. And maybe to distinguish that a little bit, maybe not St. John, he speaks of two different kinds of love, like love your neighbor, but first, God loved us, right? So even Jesus' command, love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? So, I mean, we can't give what we don't have. We got to receive the love of God first before we can give it. So maybe we could say fear is an absence of the presence of God's love in our hearts or something. I mean, we get it. I mean, fear is a thing. But Jesus and John too are telling us, do not be afraid. Even in the midst of a storm, do not be afraid. So, yeah, what's up with that? I think at the very least we could say that the love of God in us is the presence of God in our hearts. It's the knowledge that God is our Father and takes care of us, and that by the very fact that Jesus is here, God among us, his name Jesus is God saves. The presence of Christ here among us is the reality that God takes care of us and saves us, not just provides, but will protect us and save us. That's the love of God. And the knowledge of that and experience of it, we can be peaceful even in the midst of storms. So, that's what love is. And in the context of today's gospel, here, well, it's important. They just fed the 5,000. God provided. They saw it. He fed 5,000 men with just a little bit of bread and a couple fish. Okay? Then they're into another encounter where the storm's going crazy and they lose hope and become super fearful. It's almost understandable. But the point is, God's trying to show them, hey, you don't even have to be scared in the midst of that. I'm here, So the reality is that Jesus didn't come to take away the storms in our lives. He came to give us peace in the midst of the storm. He came to say, hey, I'm here with you. We're going to make it through this. But he's not here to just make it all go away. Although in the end, he did do that with the storm on the water. So I guess he can if he wants. But most of the time, our storms are real, and we make it through them with the knowledge of Christ. So how do we do that? I don't know. Follow our Lord's example. What did he do? He went on the mountain and prayed. Okay, prayer is an encounter with the love of God. It's an experience, and then we've got it, we know it, and then when we leave the time of prayer, we don't leave our hearts. We stay nestled in there in the peace of God, and even though the storms are crashing all around us, we can be at peace in the boat with Christ. So anyway, let's challenge ourselves not to be fearful, to open our hearts in love through faith, encounter the Lord and just be at peace. Hey, God's got this. He's our Father. He's going to take care of us. And the proof of that is that Jesus is here among us. Emmanuel, God is with us.